Well guys, I have news for you. We officially have secondary gun influence. You heard 100% correctly. Secondary Irradiate is one of the new arcanes that have released with the update, and let me tell you, this arcane is absolutely insane. It has completely transformed secondaries, allowing for some absurd synergies and making every secondary have AoE potential with the right setups. It's lots of fun to play with, and in today's video we're going to be diving a bit further into this arcane, going over all the different weapons and warframes and synergies and how you can use this arcane to its full potential. Let's begin with the mayhem, shall we? Let's quickly go over the arcane once more. I have made a full overview guide of all the arcanes, going over each of them and giving my initial thoughts. If you'd like to go and check that video out. The arcane states, on hitting enemies affected by 10 stacks of radiation, you will deal 180% of the hit damage to enemies within 7 meters. That alone is great. You spread your hit damage to nearby enemies. But here is the thing. This arcane actually spreads your status effects as well. So let's say you have a super high status beam like the new core, for example, which is one of the best weapons to use with this arcane, by the way. It will spread all of those status effects that you apply to the main target and the chain targets from the beam to other enemies too. Plus, the damage instances that are spread are affected by multi-shot as well. Do you see how insane that is for this arcane? It is absolutely amazing, and I definitely think that this could be a new metaphor or a new way of modding for secondaries, and I'm super excited to share this with you guys. Status-based weapons are absolutely perfect with this arcane, even just for your flat damage options. Plus, this opens so many synergies with certain frames that provide different instances of elements or increasing the damage over time from certain status effects. Now you can take this one step further if you'd like for certain weapons and pair Arcane Pistolier with it, which would also make you have infinite ammo for your secondary, meaning that this will just then keep going and you just keep spreading. It's just so satisfying. Or you can put precision onto your warframe if you can't fit base damage scaling onto your weapons build, which allows you to do more damage, of course. Now the million-dollar question is, how the hell do we get 10 radiation procs to proc quickly? Well, there are 5 ways to go about it. The first way is having innate radiation on certain weapons. Of course, this is having the innate element on said weapon, although this does depend on how much status chance the weapon has and how quick it goes to 10 radiation stacks. For example, the new core or any progenitor weapon that can use radiation. The Ocu core is also a good example. But there are only a few weapons that can actually do that. Which leads me on to the next one, which is of course modding for it. Adding accelerated isotope onto your build is another option to pair with other status effects, but again, this is tied to how much status chance the weapon has. If you have low status chance or you're dispersing between so many other status effects, you're not really going to reliably proc 10 radiation procs very quickly. So this is reserved for those with high status chance. The next way is warframes that already have radiation. Oberon is the perfect example for this. His entire kit can proc 10 radiation procs very quickly, and also he's very tanky. He's been reworked lately. Oberon is definitely one of the best picks for this. The other best warframe for this is Nyx. She is amazing because of chaos and also her other abilities that apply radiation too, but mainly chaos, because in a click of a button, you have 10 radiation procs instantly, especially if you have casting speed and so on. It has a wide range, and you can just immediately get 10 radiation procs and you can get the full benefit from it. Not only that, Nyx is amazing because of her passive giving up to 200% critical chance for secondary weapons. She is the perfect frame for this arcane and synergy. Corvix is also another good option because you can apply so many radiation status effects, and also of course you have your passive and you have your walls pushing them together. It makes it a lot easier for this, especially if you have punch through, which he gives for your secondary, which then just further spreads and procs. It's great. Saito 9 with his resupply is also a good option. Wisp with the Cataclysmic Gate proccing radiation quite quickly. You get the idea here. There are quite a few that I may be missing off the top of my head, but these are all warframes that can have radiation within their kit and allows you to proc those 10 radiation stacks very quickly, and then you can just immediately start shredding. Next up is the companion primer. If let's say you don't want to do any of the other stuff, you can use a companion primer like the Dorigo with the Tazakor and Arc Coil and so on. This is the build that I would use. You can use the Verglass as well. You can use Hounds with Synergized Prospectus. Companion primer is also a good option if you're not using a frame or weapon that can get it instantly, but you like to just help a little bit just to make it that much faster. I love the Tazakor for this. For the last method, I never thought I'd say this, but here we are in 2025, Warframe saying this: Smite with the Infusion Augment. This is actually my personal recommendation. If you want to go all in on the synergy with this Arcane, subsuming Oberon's ability onto any Warframe you see fit and using the Smite Infusion Augment acts the same way as Shock Trooper. It provides a chance to proc radiation. Yes, this is also somewhat tied to how much status chance a weapon has, remember that. But if you have a companion as well that can kind of just help a little bit, then it's perfectly fine. The reason why this is so overpowered is because it allows you to not have to mod for it on your weapons build, and you can build radiation very quickly with the instances, especially if you have good multi-shot and so on. Plus you get the benefit from whatever Warframe you're using and their abilities, so you can synergize those abilities to further increase. For example, let's say you put this on Rhino or Araxia or I don't know, any frame that you see fit, but you get the idea. You can use other abilities to make your secondary do more damage. Plus, Smite itself has been reworked and it's a much better option now to use because it allows you to strip those tough targets very quickly, and it's just satisfying to use now. So actually Smite is definitely one of the best options here, and that covers how we get radiation fairly quickly. I can't think of any other way. If you guys know one, please let me know in the comments below. With that being said though, and now that we know how to get all the radiation, let's finally talk about the list of weapons that I've personally tried and I would suggest for you. But please know that it is not limited to the ones that I'm about to mention. You can try it on absolutely any secondary that you love and you enjoy. That's what makes this Arcane so amazing. First up on the list is the new core. By far one of the best to use for this. Come on, it's a beam weapon, it does a metric ton of damage, and it has innate radiation. It chains to nearby enemies. It has a lot of flexibility to be a heat primer or heat damage beam weapon. It can be a blast spreader. It goes with any synergy. Pairing this with certain warframes to further increase this damage output is going to be amazing. And with the Arcane, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Then we have the Cycron. The Cycron follows the exact same thing as the new core, being so versatile and powerful. This gun is just very nice with its battery mechanic and having infinite ammo. It's a very, very good option. I love this thing with blast. I definitely recommend you give the Cycron a go if you are someone that doesn't really like the new core or you just never tried it. Definitely Tenet Cycron is the way to go. Then we have the Sciatid for gas. It's good for gas spreading, and it has its ability to pull enemies in. With this Arcane, and being able to pull enemies in means that you guaranteed to hit absolutely every enemy, and it's just a fun option with certain warframes. Sciatid is definitely a good option. You must give it a go. Next is the Furus. Also one of the best. Furus does insane damage. Irradiate just spreads this damage to more enemies, especially with heat. The damage over time that you spread to other enemies is insane. You'll basically shred through them if you use it normally, and it's just lots of fun. Then we have the Icarius. Now, the Icarius already has absolutely fantastic damage for AoE, but I do find that for you to fully utilize Irradiate with it, you need a very good radiation spreader like Nyx and Oberon, because there's going to be so much AoE as is. But once it does proc, it just spreads that AoE damage even more, which is kind of insane if you think about it. Yeah, secondary Irradiate with Icarius is definitely an option, but you need reliable radiation spreading. Just keep that in mind. Then we have the Latum, especially with the 2000% non-crit bonus. Make sure that you're not using frames that buff crits though. That's very, very, very careful with that. You don't want that. The Occucore is easily one of the best too because of the multiple beams and tendrils. I mean, look at this with Nyx. I mean, it's just insane. The Dual Toxicist is also one of the best weapons to use, and it's already broken because of its ricochet mechanic, meaning Irradiate just adds to it, and the clearing potential of this weapon has just been improved. Those of you who love the Dual Toxicist in Canon, congratulations, you have it even more stronger now, or even more powerful. The Sicarus Prime in Canon, personally I prefer this over the Dual Toxicist in Canon. I don't know why, it's just a personal preference, but it is big damage, very versatile, and can do red crits as well with the right setups, and it has the same ricochet mechanics, so Irradiate just fits with this weapon perfectly. Coda Catabolist is a personal preference for me. I want to recommend it because I find it quite fun. It's super fun beam gun and works very well with all of its synergies. It also has a grenade that throws, and if you have Irradiate, it spreads that explosion even more, and it has super high crit. The Despair in Canon is my personal favorite weapon to use with the Irradiate, since the Incarnon throws exploding daggers. With priming, it's got massive damage, and it's lots of fun with the explosions that actually spread further. The Lex in Canon, so good. Hard hitting, perfect for this Arcane, The Lex benefits from this drastically because the hemorrhage mod actually works with it too. When it spreads and it applies impact, it will also spread the slash procs. So it's great. Does millions of damage and is by far one of the most satisfying options to use because it allows you to actually do more AoE damage with the Lex, which is quite nice because the Lex is more of a corridor clearer. Now this is a bit more AoE based. Then we have the Hystrix. Being able to switch between different elements on the fly with a super high status chance makes this a very good option for secondary Irradiate, especially if you pair Arcane Precision with certain Warframes or even Pistolier if you have base damage scaling on the Hystrix. The Epitaph is a good option as well for the hold fire and does lots of damage, but you do need external priming to reliably proc 10 procs. And then there's another side to the secondary Irradiate, which is worth noting to say the least, and it's not the best, but it definitely makes a difference, and that is primers. The compressor primer is a good example for this. It already spreads so many instances and allows you to have some serious priming potential. For a more AoE focused primer, using secondary Irradiate actually just helps the compressor a lot. But I will say though, if you're using it more for single target based things, like let's say you're doing disruption or anything like that, then I think secondary encumber would be better than secondary Irradiate because it'll apply a lot more status effects on that specific enemy. So just keep that in mind. It also applies to the new core being a primer too, although you could pass this as a damage option as well, not necessarily just priming. Pretty much covers the weapons that I personally tested. You can use any pistol that you want as long as you enjoy it and you have fun and you have base damage and reliably get to 10 stacks of radiation. You'll get the full benefit of this Arcane. Finally, this leads me onto our Warframe suggestions. First one on the list is Nyx. I mean, one of the best frames for this, I've already mentioned multiple times in this video. Chaos grants max radiation stacks instantaneously, Psychic bolts armor strips enemies, and her passive grants up to 200% crit chance for secondary weapons. Absolutely perfect to use with secondary Irradiate. Plus you have her fourth ability, Absorb with Assimilate, that makes her invulnerable. Then we have Oberon. Again, he's the reworked GOAT. The Hallowed Ground makes it super easy to proc radiation, same with Hallowed Reckoning and Smite, allowing for secondary Irradiate to proc very reliably, and Oberon is super tanky too. Cyto 9 with resupply and headshots, I guess, with these radars, but resupply allowing you to have another instance of radiation procs allows secondary Irradiate to proc a lot more often, which is great. Then we have Citrine with her Prismatic Gem ability. This increases the status chance and duration of your weapons and allies. So it's pretty handy, especially if you, let's say, subsume Smite with the augment on and you decide to use that to spread your radiation procs and so on. Unfortunately, you can't get radiation through Prismatic Gem, obviously, but it does help you to proc more, and you have her fourth ability for red crits too. Then we have Nova with Molecular Prime, spreading the massive explosions and the damage vulnerability. I would recommend subsuming Smite on as well, maybe over Wormhole or something like that. But if you're pairing Neutron Star and the explosions with the damage vulnerability plus radiation and secondary Irradiate, it's great. Highly recommended. Then we have Lavos. You knew he was going to be on this list with Valence Formation. Would be absolutely disgusting with this. I mean, when is it not? If you don't use Valence Formation, you can also imbue his second ability or any of his other abilities to max out radiation stacks pretty quickly. Araxia is perfect for this when pairing with her fourth ability. Subsuming Smite onto her kit as well to allow you to actually use the augment so that you can get radiation on your weapons. Her fourth ability creates toxin explosions and extra instances of toxin damage, which is amazing to pair with the Irradiate since that spreads those stacks. So yeah, you basically have a further toxin spreader with Irradiate. So honestly, Araxia, even Saren actually would be perfect for this now that I think about it. I'm thinking about this as I'm doing this voiceover. Saren and Araxia are absolutely amazing for this. Then we have Mesa with her pistols. I do find that she does need external buffing. I am going to further min-max this or explore this when I make my Mesa guide for the Prime Vanguard that's coming soon, so stay tuned for that, but she's definitely worth using. To quickly touch on this, because I know many people are going to say in the comments, I have tested with Titanium. Right now I am struggling to find a way to reliably proc 10 radiation stacks. So until I find out how to do that, I have not mentioned her just for this video. Then we have Corvex. His entire kit is based on radiation, which just makes it super easy for this Arcane to use and to proc. Wisp is also one of the best because of Cataclysmic Gate, the augment. It allows you to very quickly cast down the sun portals that quickly proc radiation and heat. And you have Breach Surge, which will proc off the Arcane and her fourth ability. So it's like, if you're a Wisp enjoyer, just use it, just try it. You'll be so surprised. Her modes provide fire rate and other buffs as well. Wisp is beyond perfect and insane with this Arcane. And that pretty much covers all the Warframes and the weapons. To wrap the video up, Secondary Irradiates can definitely be a new meta for building secondaries. It's something different. It's opening so many doors. I feel like I've still scratched the surface, and I would love to make more videos in the future if I ever find some other crazy synergies. I can maybe do like a top 5 thing like that. It is something that I do think you guys should give a try if you're someone who enjoys secondaries and what they offer, because there's a lot of flexibility with secondaries that I quite enjoy, and Irradiate has just added to that. So I definitely think it's something you should get. The simple fact that Irradiate spreads the damage instances with multi-shot as well as spreading the status effects, I hope DE does not change it. I never thought I would be suggesting using Smite with its augment on Warframes, but here we are. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. If you did, please smash that like button. It really helps me out. Thank you so much. As always, a massive thank you to our channel members. You guys are amazing. I really appreciate your support. I will see you all in the next video.